Reporter Tyler Sullivan to discuss. And Tyler, we're going to start with the defending champions. Obviously, this is not something new when it comes to Patrick Mahomes playing through injury. We use the term a lot, he's built different, but if any moment in his career has shown that, it's today. My question here, though, is do they need him to play Saturday against the Texans?
You know, we're coming off a day where, like, the Superman trailer just went wild and everybody in the internet's going crazy. It feels like we're doing that in the NFL now with Patrick Mahomes, right? You know, we're like, oh, goodness, what's going to happen with Patrick Mahomes? Is he going to play? Logs full practices throughout the week. He's off the injury report. It's like, ho-hum, he's totally fine. He's not totally fine. He's dealing with injuries. But do you need Patrick Mahomes? Of course you do, because he's Patrick Mahomes. The question is, what version of Patrick Mahomes are you getting? Now, one of his superpowers is that mobility to throw the football. It's not mobility like Josh Allen. It's not mobility like Lamar Jackson. It's the mobility to extend plays to throw the football. The question is now, how much is that going to be diminished now that he's dealing with his ankle injury? He's certainly not going to be 100% for this game, even though he'll tell you that he's ready to go. The Chiefs injury report will tell you that as well. The question for me is that, how long can he dance around in the pocket to extend plays, to raise the ceiling of this offense, particularly against a Houston Texans pass rush that has Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, both of those guys have 10 sacks on the season. How is he going to be able to stack up there? So there's going to be concerns about how healthy he's going to be over these next couple of days here as they go through, as you reference, this short window of a couple of games going through Christmas. But overall, if they take care of business, you're talking about a week 18 and possibly then a first round bye where you don't have to play Patrick Mahomes, which is, I think, the goal here is.
Yeah, just a follow to that. If they do lose this game against the Texans, we know that the 1 seed and the 2 seed between the Bills and the Chiefs has been just the biggest topic of conversation in the AFC. So if the Chiefs lose, Tyler, does that kind of guarantee that the Bills are going to get that 1 seed?
I don't think it guarantees it. Again, of course, they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. You're a little bit nervous of that, but I still think that there would be a chance there where Kansas City then pushes the envelope, where I don't know if I would do that. Like, that's where kind of things get a little sticky, right? Like, you want Patrick Mahomes to be healthy. I don't care if the game's being played at Arrowhead Stadium throughout the playoffs, Highmark Stadium, the Moon. It doesn't matter to me as long as Patrick Mahomes is fully healthy. So if all of a sudden you are really seeing the Buffalo Bills further nip at your heels for that number 1 seed and pushes the envelope to play Patrick Mahomes, say in a week 18 situation to try to secure it, sure, you might end up still getting the number 1 seed and getting that first round bye. But what happens if you lose? And then all of a sudden you're playing the next week because you're not the number 1 seed. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation here for Kansas City. I think they're trying to play Mahomes now to rest him later, which is probably the more optimal way to go about it.
Always the level of gamesmanship when it comes to this time of the season. They do have an experienced backup, though, in Carson Wentz. So in the event that they do want to rest Patrick Mahomes, hopefully there's not too much of a drop-off there in terms of experience. Unfortunately, though, Tyler, if we look at the Chiefs' next matchup, it's the Steelers. And for the Steelers, winter is coming in the AFC North. It is no surprise that that division has come down to the Steelers and the Ravens. We know last time out, Pittsburgh won the game without scoring a touchdown, which is wild to think about. But I can imagine this time around, Tyler, Baltimore is going to make it a little bit more difficult to get a win, especially with that division conversation happening.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting, right? Because we're trying to figure out what version of these two teams are we going to see. Because you have Lamar Jackson, who is playing at an MVP level, is 12-0 in the regular season and starts week 15 or later in his career. He's absolutely, he's coming off a game where he threw 5 touchdowns. But when he plays the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's a different guy. They play him so well. You look at his career as a starter against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1-4. The Ravens are averaging 19 points per game. He has 5 touchdowns to 11 turnovers. He's a different quarterback when he plays this team because the Pittsburgh Steelers, with Mike Tomlin, they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. But on the flip side, what kind of Pittsburgh Steelers team are we getting? So all of those same concerns that we have about Lamar Jackson, it's even more so with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Without George Pickens over these last few games, they're averaging more than less than a field goal per game. Their yards, total yards per game, has dropped dramatically. So if all of a sudden they can't get to 20 points, I don't even know if it matters if Lamar Jackson's not going at the peak of his powers, because I think if they get to 21, 23 points, that might be enough to beat the Steelers team.
It's kind of feeling like the beginning of the season when Justin Fields was in and the Steelers were winning games and we couldn't figure out how they were winning games because the offense was just so lax there. So it's going to be interesting. No George Pickens, no Justin Fields in that one. Mike Tomlin looking for his 8th divisional title as the head coach. Let's talk about Thursday night football, Tyler. We know that they can be a snooze fest, but last night was all the fireworks. We had a scoring shootout. We had a rule that most people didn't know about, but of course Jim Harbaugh did, and it helped them win the game. He said it, and he always says it. Who's got it better than we do, right? But I don't want to talk about the Chargers. I want to talk about what the Chargers did for the Bengals, because just when you think they've been too risky, it's too far gone, Joe Burrow always finds a way. They have a 9% shot of getting into the postseason right now. That goes up to 11%, Tyler, if they can pick up a win over the Browns. I say all that to say you can never count out the Bengals.
So you're telling me there's a chance. That's really what it is, right? And if you are every team in the AFC that is already has a playoff situation locked, if you're Kansas City, if you're Buffalo, if you're sitting pretty, you kind of look at the rest of the landscape, this is the last team you want to see sneak into the postseason because of Joe Burrow playing at that MVP level. He's not getting that love because of the record that Cincinnati's been dealing with throughout the season, but you do not want to see this team. Glimmer of Christmas miracle is still there for the Cincinnati Bengals. And again, I'll just say it again. I don't think any team in the AFC wants Cincinnati to get in.
We can't make it up. Like, we do all these segments on HQ about why the Bengals shouldn't be in the postseason, and here we are. Jamar Chase told us a few weeks back, we're too good to be losing like this, and so feels like it may be a little too late, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Again, you can never count them out. Tyler, last but not least, we alluded to it at the beginning of this conversation. We got to talk about the Bills because everyone's been raving about that last game against the Lions. It was a potential Super Bowl preview. It gave us all of the things we want in a football game. But now when we're talking about the Bills, they're trying to get to that 1 seed, right? When you look at their strength of schedule, there is no strength to it. They get the Patriots twice with the Jets sandwiched in the middle there. I know we talked about it from the Chiefs angle, but what about for the Bills? How should they be approaching this weekend and the rest of their schedule as they try to get that 1 seed?
Yeah, I mean, this is as perfect of a final 3 weeks as you could hope for if you're still vying for that number 1 seed. Again, we referenced they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So if you have Patrick Mahomes limit itself that first round bye, quote unquote, before you get in to wild card weekend by sitting Josh Allen and all your key players to avoid anything tragic from happening in terms of from an injury standpoint. So Buffalo's certainly in a great spot. If they're not the number 1 seed, they're right there. But again, I want to see what happens over these next couple of weeks because you could just be talking about Josh Allen on the bench in week 18.
Yeah, Buffalo needs to win out, and they need Kansas City to lose 2 of their next 3. So,
Movie Camera Hey, Blue and Silver Nation. Today, we're diving into a topic that's got Cowboys fans buzzing. The future of our team and 3 bold draft picks that could completely change the game in 2025. But hold on, keep your excitement in check for a moment. I'll break it all down for you shortly. Stick around until the end because you'll want to know about these talents who could transform our team. 3 o'clock in less than a minute, we'll get into the main event. First, let's set the stage. While the Cowboys aren't mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, the realistic odds stand at just 0.1%. That means all eyes are already on 2025 and what the future might hold. And here's where the draft becomes crucial. It's the perfect opportunity to bolster our roster and get us back to competing head-to-head with the league's best. Fire now. Let's talk about the 3 game-changing picks being projected for the Cowboys in 2025. First round, Emeka Egbuka, WR, Ohio State, a rare wide receiver talent. Egbuka is known for his completeness and ability to create explosive plays after the catch. He'd be the perfect complement to CD Lamb, especially with Brandon Cooks likely leaving in free agency. This pick would instantly transform our aerial attack, adding dynamism and firepower to the offense. Second round, Jihad Campbell, LB, Alabama with DeMarvion Overshown potentially missing the next season. Campbell emerges as an ideal solution. He's a versatile linebacker, excellent against the run, and capable of pressuring the quarterback from multiple spots. His arrival would immediately strengthen our defense, especially under the guidance of Mike Zimmer. Third round, Maxwell Hairston, CB. Kentucky Trayvon Diggs' injury was a tough blow for the secondary, and Hairston would be a strategic pick. With his impressive physicality and ability to cover large areas, he'd be the perfect insurance piece, adding depth and quality to our cornerback group. Flex biceps, do these picks make sense for the Cowboys' future? Think about it. With these three additions, the team would have everything it needs to climb back to the top: a rejuvenated offense, a stronger defense, and depth in critical positions. The big question is, do you believe these picks will be enough to bring the Cowboys back to winning ways and closer to the Super Bowl? Megaphone, now it's your turn. Cowboys Nation, share your thoughts in the comments. Who would you like to see wearing the Cowboys jersey in 2025? Don't forget to share this video with fellow fans, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates on the future of our Dallas Cowboys. American football, go Cowboys! See you in the next video. Until then,